Hi friends, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about a topic which causes everyone a lot of anxiety when facing a mastectomy. And that is, what is it going to feel like after the surgery? Particularly the discussion on drains and expanders. So in my case, I had a double mastectomy, and that was in 2010. So a lot of the technology might have changed from then to now, and also perhaps there's more clothing friendly, mastectomy friendly clothing available, but the basics would be pretty much the same. So I'm going to explain what I did and how it felt, and I hope that'll help you in your journey. So in my case, I had what was called a skin sparing double mastectomy. So what happened during my surgery was that the breast tissue was removed, and I had two expanders placed under my chest muscle. So this is referred to as under the chest muscle reconstruction. And this was done during the mastectomy. And these expanders basically look like implants that have a metal port. And sometimes they can put some fluid in it to begin with, and sometimes they can't. It all depends on how much tissue is available to your plastic surgeon. In my case, since I have quite a small frame, they were actually able to use alloderm, which is, this is going to be a little bit perhaps uncomfortable topic, but they basically use cadaver skin that's been washed of all cells and basically just used as something to help them to make the pockets for your new implants that you're about to receive. So basically what that means is that when you wake up, obviously you're going to have some pressure in your chest, these expanders, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. And also, they need to keep the area where the incision and where the surgery was performed clean and free of blood clots, and to provide some irrigation for fluid that might collect. So this is where the drains come in. So the drains that are used are called Jackson Pratt drains, and they basically look like a 14 to 18 inch tube with a little grenade looking item at the bottom, or device at the bottom. And basically when you wake up from your mastectomy, I had two of these on each side. If you had lymph node dissection, you could possibly have three on each side. And they come out from under your arm, and they're stitched to the muscle to hold it sort of in place. And that's the area that causes the discomfort that I will talk about in a few minutes. So, but again, these are so important to avoid infection, fever. They're to keep your surgery area clean and sanitary, and it's good when you're actually handling these drains to use really good hygiene, which we'll talk about in a minute. So one of the things I had purchased before my mastectomy was a button-down shirt, and I can't emphasize enough how important that is. I bought two pairs of button-down pajamas, which I did bring to the hospital, and I also purchased some button-down shirts that I could wear at home and then also to doctor's appointments. Now what they gave me at the hospital was a vest which had pockets to hold the drains. Now nowadays you can probably get really pretty button-down shirts that already have pockets for the drains, but you want something that'll hold the drains inside of your clothing. It's really not that nice to look at, so you want to make sure that they're sort of hidden under your clothing. But by having the pockets, it keeps the drains in place, and you can understand if they're hanging and they have fluid in them and the fluid is heavy, then that's going to be pulling on your underarm and cause that's what's going to cause the discomfort is the pulling on the drains. So when I woke up from my mastectomy, it was the evening. My surgery lasted about 5 hours, and I remember waking up and I basically felt like there was a truck sitting on my chest. Now remember, I had under the muscle reconstruction, which was putting in the expanders. And when you take a deep breath, because this muscle now has been stretched and is tight, and even though they used Alloderm to give me some more space, taking a deep breath was a bit of a challenge. But that's really important that you do that. And they'll give you a breathing device to keep you doing that, because you, from lying flat and the pressure on your chest, you don't want your lungs to fill with fluid, because obviously the danger of pneumonia is quite real. So when my anesthesia wore off, I not only had pain, obviously your whole chest has been manipulated to put it in a nicer way, but also the expander pressure is something that makes it hard to take a deep breath. And God forbid anyone makes you laugh or you sneeze. You don't want to invite anybody funny to visit you in the hospital, because that's the last thing that you want to do. So they gave me a morphine pump to manage my pain, which I'll be honest, I did use that night. I can't honestly say I had a lot of rest that night. I was quite uncomfortable. And the thing that I wasn't quite prepared for was that moving my arms was almost impossible, because it was so uncomfortable, both from the standpoint of, your chest muscle will go across, your pectoral muscle goes across here. So moving your arm, you're also affecting those muscles, but also you've got the drains coming out. So I tried to get up to use the bathroom, and I had to call the nurse every time, even though my husband was there staying with me. I was so afraid that I was going to break the stitches on the drains that I did call for help. So I did use the morphine pump during the night, and then in the morning, they told me I might go home that day. So and believe me, at the time I felt there's no way I'm going home, but I wanted to wean myself off of the morphine pump, as did they. So they changed me to Percocet. So if you read up on Percocet, it's a wonderful thing. I actually took it years ago when I had my children after the childbirth, especially when you're nursing and you get that first cramps, the cramps that came from nursing, almost like labor pains. So I was familiar with Percocet. The situation with Percocet is it has some side effects which are not so great, particularly when your whole body is sort of been slowed down. The anesthesia's in your body and your whole body systems are sort of still in low mode. So you need to make sure that they give you some sort of laxative and that you drink a lot of water. Drink a lot of water. This is a big challenge for people. If you actually listen to any other podcasts or YouTube posts, it's a challenge. So make sure that you are prepared with that. They did give me something in the hospital, but I had something that I researched on my own that I use. And if you want to send me a message, I'll be happy to send you what I use. It's a natural product, and which I only use natural holistic products, and it really helped tremendously. So I got up that morning and they did bring me breakfast. I really didn't feel like eating that much, to be honest. I did try to drink as much as I could, and then they advised me they wanted me to get up and walk and to get dressed. So I waited for my plastic surgeon to come, and she came and she checked all the dressings, and everything looked okay. The drain exits looked fine, and then it was my time to get dressed. Well, I almost felt like a little kid in kindergarten that doesn't know how to tie their shoes. because boy, did I need help. I really, even though I had a button-down shirt, to even get my arms to this level to put the shirt on, I could raise my arms no more than, not even that high. And you have to put one arm in the shirt and the other arm in the shirt. And my husband was an angel and he helped me tremendously. But I would advise that you sort of schedule that for when you do some pain medication, because that is something that you need to think about. The other thing is that, of course, to go home, they wanted me to sit up in the chair so that they proved to them that I could get myself up, get myself in the chair. They don't want you lying in bed. They don't want you to have any chance of developing pneumonia, again, particularly because you've got this pressure on your lungs already by this chest muscle that was expanded. And so getting out of bed. Have you ever tried to get out of bed without using your arm muscles to push you out? Well, that's a trick. And they had me shimmy to the edge of the bed. They swung my legs around and then very gingerly helped me to stand up. So this is something when you're going home you want to think about. You need to have someone with you if you're going to be in bed resting, or if you're going to be even if you're using a recliner chair like I did. When you need to get up, you're going to need help and support so that you're not pulling on your arm muscles or your chest muscles too much. So I was cleared to go home, but I had to walk down the hallway first to prove that I could. Now, I still had my IV pole attached because they hadn't prepared me for discharge yet. So I felt like a little old lady hunched over, and I give little old ladies the utmost respect, but I felt like a little old lady hunched over as I gingerly walked down the hall, which wasn't very long, trust me, but with the help of my husband, I was able to navigate it, but it felt like the longest walk of my life. Again, because you've been through a major surgery, a major chest trauma, and your body is just tired. Your body is using every bit of energy that it has to repair what you've just gone through. And in the word of my plastic surgeon, we beat you up pretty badly. And that's not to be mean, but it's like sort of the truth. So basically, I was told on discharge, I was given more pain medication. I was told how to take care of the drains. And basically what you have to do, and this is going to be too much information, I know, but I got to tell you, you basically have to what they call strip the drain, which you start the tube on the end, obviously holding onto it, and you pull so that the fluid will go into those little grenade-looking receptacles. And that's to make sure that no blood clots collect in the tube to keep the fluid running clearly. And then you're told to empty them either twice a day and record the fluid, or sometimes, because I'm a smaller person, that's what I was told, but sometimes other women may have been told to empty the drains 3 up to 4 times a day. And I said again, if you had lymph node involvement, you may have more fluid draining from that area as well. So I was allowed to prepare to go home. I really wasn't thrilled about the whole idea, but I didn't feel ready. But they told me that usually people go home that day, but somehow I was able to convince them that I needed one more day in the hospital. Now, my husband had been sleeping on this ridiculous recliner, wretched chair. So I sent him home that evening to sleep at home. And having my own pajamas on and just feeling a little bit more sort of human, I did get a little bit better night's sleep that night, although when you're in the hospital, they come in every 3 or 4 hours to check on you. So it's not like you're getting any quality sleep, but I did get some rest. And I was scheduled for discharge first thing the next morning. So when my husband arrived, they went over all of the information again with my discharge directions. And one other thing that I talk about in my Preparing for a Mastectomy podcast is some sort of a pillow to use in the car between your chest and the seatbelt. Now, I was given a hot dog pillow by the gift shop at my hospital. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, but I was operated at the Faulkner Hospital, which was an affiliate of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. But I talk about in my Preparing for a Mastectomy podcast that you want to get some sort of a pillow, and that pillow is to protect your chest from the seatbelt. Now, the other 2 pillows I talk about in that podcast is a nursing pillow or a pregnancy pillow. Now, obviously, the pregnancy pillow would be much too large to bring in the car, but you could use a nursing pillow if that's what you purchased. And these 2 items are very extremely useful when you get home. The pregnancy pillow for sitting in a chair and keeping your arms stabilized. I didn't know about these back then, so I just stacked pillows on my lap to keep my arms stable. And the pregnancy pillow, I would think would be invaluable for keeping you stable in bed at night. Again, I just propped up both my arms on pillows so I wouldn't move around, and also to protect me, so if my husband bumped into me, I didn't want to yell out to upset him, and obviously to cause myself more pain. So basically, when you're home, your job is to drink a lot of fluid, to rest, eat healthy foods, and to also walk to keep your blood flowing in, and of course, again, to keep those drains stable and in place. You'll have wonderful friends who want to come visit you, and it's so appreciated. But the thought of getting dressed out of my pajamas in the morning was enough to kind of set me in a tailspin. And also, you just are not up to even really talking, or the anesthesia is still in your system, you still need to clear that out, and you are just, I can't even tell you, I can't even express it enough. You are just exhausted from what you've been through. The other thing is that people may offer to bring you meals, which is amazing. I was so lucky that I had my mom come and stay with us, as my husband's a wonderful guy, but he's not a cook. So I was able to tell my mom what I liked, and she was able to prepare my meals. Now, if you're trying to eat healthy and watch your sugar intake and just help your body sort of repair itself as good as possible, you want to make sure you make those choices clear to people that are preparing food for you, because it can be challenging, and you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and they're taking the time to help you, and you really don't want them to prepare something that you're not going to be able to enjoy. So the expanders, besides the drains and the stitches under your arms, the expanders are a challenge, and it's almost, I guess the only thing I can give you as an analogy is you sort of feel like you're wearing an iron bra, although I can tell you that I didn't look as good as that since I was a teenager, because they're not moving. I mean, they're still held in place by the bra that they'll put on you at surgery, and you want to keep that bra on. You want to make sure that you have full support, because the pockets that they built for these expanders, you don't want them to be stretched out, because you want them to stay where they put them. Again, I had 200 cc's of fluid put in my expanders during surgery, so when I woke up, I wasn't totally flat, and I did have a little hint of some chest mounds there. But I would be learning as we went along how filling the expanders would be, and I had my first expander filling scheduled for a week from the day of surgery, and I was praying so hard that I was going to get the drains out then, but we'll talk about that later. So I had a visiting nurse come to the house, and she did check the recording that I had made of the fluid that was coming from my drains, and she did check the incisions. And you're not allowed to shower I was told not to shower for 48 hours after getting home. And one thing I will say is that, of course, your hair is just a mess. And I saw one survivor refer to it as surgery hair. But just to give yourself a boost, you really want to purchase in advance some shampoo caps, because even though I couldn't shower, my mom was able to sort of help me give myself a sponge bath, and she did wash my hair with this shampoo cap. And not only did it make my hair feel amazing, but the massage that you get when you're using a shampoo cap is like total luxury, like totally amazing. And if you want to tell your friends, because again, you want to be respectful and you appreciate they want to come visit you, like cards and good wishes, you really don't feel like talking very much on the phone, because it tires you out, and I just really didn't feel like talking about it at that point. So respectfully, you want to let people know that, yeah, we'll keep you updated, but I really just need to rest for the first week. And they now have these sites that you can post updates on, and I wish they'd had something like that back then, because I could have just put in a little paragraph in the morning of what I was feeling and how I was doing. So my first expansion was scheduled in a week, and by then I was feeling a little bit human. I was still taking the Percocet, but not on a regular basis. And a word of warning on that: do not take the Percocet on an empty stomach. So although I gave up dairy later on, I could barely, the Percocet actually made me nauseous. So I sort of lived on ginger ale and crackers, but I also would make sure that I had a bit of yogurt before I took my Percocet, so it wouldn't upset my stomach so much. So back to the Faulkner Hospital and my plastic surgeon a week later, and she was quite pleased with my progress. The incisions looked clean, and everything looked like it was the way it was supposed to be. The biggest disappointment was I wasn't getting my drains out yet. I was going to have to come back in a few days for that. But we did do my first expansion. And again, this was something that I had a lot of anxiety about. I had read on the internet that some people experience pain when they had the expansions. I did take a Percocet before I went to have my first expansion. So the process for the expansion is that basically you lay on the examination table or sit up, however is more comfortable for you. And basically what they do is they use a magnet to find the metal port on your expander, and do not look at the needle that they use, because it looks like a horse's needle. But you're still numb from the surgery, and of course you don't have much sensation. I'm sad to say that even today I don't really have much sensation back. I do feel my grandchildren when they press themselves against me, but I don't really feel much other sensation there. But it didn't hurt at all. It was amazing. Like my Abby, who was my nurse practitioner at the plastic surgeon's office, was an angel, and she was so sweet and took so much time and used so much kindness with me. So I did close my eyes for the first one, and she goes, "All done?" And then I did watch for the second one, but don't look at the needle. It's not something you want to check out. So since everything was going well, I went back to and checked out of my plastic surgeon's appointment and was given another appointment to get my drains out and possibly do another expansion if I was doing as well the next time. So I'm going to leave you here, and I will talk more about the home recovery and what came in the weeks later on a future post. But hang in there. Hang in there. It's different for everybody. People that don't do immediate reconstruction have a totally different experience. And if you've decided that that's what you want to do, then follow your heart. And everyone is different. Everyone has their own comfort level, and you know what's best for you. And you should follow that little voice inside, the women's intuition or the men's intuition. Men get breast cancer too, and just do what you feel is right for you. So for now, I'm going to say thank you for joining me, and till our next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and may God bless. See you next time. But before you go, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. And I'm actually still new to this, but I'm going to try a live post. So if you want to hit that bell so that you'll know if I'm live, please do that as well. And I'd love your feedback. Please give me some feedback. Please visit my website, www.sisters, with an S, the number 4, prevention.com. There you can find all the latest information about where we are with the breast cancer vaccine, what I'm up to, some diet and lifestyle suggestions, and the link to my podcast is there. The link to my book is there. So please give us a visit. And you can also subscribe on my website so that you'll be notified if we have every time I post on my blog or I post new information about the vaccine. So bye for now.